This is a very unique and exciting education seminar, social media branding, and just the impact of social media on the golf industry and your individual careers. We've been very lucky to put together a really great group of people today to come talk to us. In the first hour here, we have James O and Danny O. I will introduce them and tell you more about them in a second. And then in part two of this, we have Nick Bova and Amanda Davis, who runs the golf shop at Essex County in Massachusetts in the New England section. And she runs a super successful kind of a social media account and online buying and selling for the golf shop. She's been merchandiser of the year up there once or twice at least. So this is going to be a great seminar. We're going to get started. James and Danny, thank you so much for being here. James, I'm going to start with you. James O, everyone, you guys probably know him from his Instagram account, James O Golf. Very successful teacher. I've spent some time with him, unbelievable player. James, I would love for you to kind of just tell us about your story, how you got started in golf, your playing days, your teaching days. How'd you kind of get into this?
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me. This is an honor to be invited and speak to you guys. My name is James O. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I started golf at a very young age at a public golf course, about 5, and played on tour from 2001 to, I think my last tour event was like 2013 or 14 or so. But in the middle, about 2006 or so, I started teaching golf. That was kind of my way to make ends meet. And I started teaching golf in my playing career, and now I'm full-time instructing, and here I am. So I played on the PGA Tour in 2009, played a few other events after that, and now I've coached from beginners to PGA Tour players and everyone in between.
Awesome. James, thank you. Danny O. I don't think that people are going to know your face, but guys, this is Country Club Collection on Instagram. Danny O is the creator and the content master of basically social media golf. Danny, I will admit, I think you're probably, in my opinion, one of the first people to kind of put together an account that has kind of gotten on the inside look at PGA Tour and the lives and just overall golf content. So Danny, kind of tell us where you're from, where you come from, how'd you get started in this?
Hey guys, Mike, thanks for the intro. I got started, my background's marketing and branding, and I decided I want to work on the PGA Tour, and I saw an opportunity where I had a few relationships with a couple players, and they wanted more exposure on their end that they weren't getting for their personal brands. So I started working out there probably 5 years ago, and the account that I run basically is just to help promote my clients, and also just from a personal standpoint, something that I thought that I wanted to see if I was a fan that didn't exist out there, that from my time on the PGA Tour and in the golf space, that I thought was really cool, that just isn't getting the exposure or isn't being shared enough, and kind of a non-paid for thing. People aren't really paying me to put stuff out. I'm doing it because I think it's pretty cool and people would want to see it. And now I'm working I've worked for over a dozen guys, from Snedeker to Keith Mitchell and Jay Bird and Jamie Lovemark, who I've met Mike through. And I also work with James O. So James and I have been working for the last 3 years, helping grow his brand. And we're both from LA originally, but we actually met on the PGA Tour, and he reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I know you're working with players. We'd love to hire you for my own coaching personal brand." And we've been working the last 3 years, kind of from scratch.
Yeah.
So that's my background.
Yeah. And Danny, you've done an amazing job. Just so everyone knows that's here watching and listening, Country Club Collection has 65,000 people following that account, and James O has 20,000 people following his account. So I consider you two kind of, two of the most popular golf accounts on social media today in the world. So we're really excited to have you here, and thank you for spending some time. Let me ask you guys this right from the start here. You kind of remember, James, you have a unique situation. You don't technically have a home club that you teach at, where I would say the majority of the people on this Zoom here work for a club. Okay, so it's kind of hard to mix your personal brand and where you kind of want to take that while staying true to your employer, which is basically, we all have an employer. So there's like a very fine tightrope to walk there. So with your social media account, and Danny, you're going to have a ton of input on this. Like, what are you really trying to achieve with your content right now on your Instagram accounts or any other social media accounts you guys are putting out there?
Oh, for me, for what we try to Country Club and I, like, my biggest goal was, can I help people very specifically with short game? Every single person in the world, if they can look at my video, never ever take a lesson, and they go, you know what, I think if I can make a difference, and I try to put the best information out there, not in hopes of, I hope they come take a lesson, but actually leaving not really leaving a legacy, but if I can actually touch lives and help people get better at short game, I mean, that's the most gratifying thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to do that since day one. That was kind of the plan. Like, how can I actually help people? And that's kind of the journey that we took, right?
Yeah, from social media standpoint, so whether it's business clients or it's personal players and personal brands for their content, I explain social media as a simple equation. It's a transaction that you're actually making. What I mean by that is, although it's technically free for someone to click follow and to watch your stuff, and they're not paying on Instagram to watch your content, they're paying in the form of attention and time. So in exchange for their time watching all your content, engaging with your content, you want to provide them value. So we've always, in the specific case with James, and even with tour players, or even for businesses, I tell them, you gotta create value and put yourself in your followers' shoes and think, is this content that I'm putting out, are the people watching this going to get value from this? And there's three buckets of values. I say there's one bucket that's entertainment. So it can be something that's just cool to watch. It can be something educational, something that they're learning. That's the second value point. And the third one is from a monetary standpoint. So I personally follow accounts like the Points Guy, right, where they talk about they create content to value on how I can save money or how I can get something quicker than other people, right? So those are three value buckets: entertainment, educational, and a monetary value. That if before putting this post up, if we don't feel like it hits one of those buckets, at least one of those, there's really no point in putting it up. No one wants to scroll through their newsfeed. I know everybody does, and go just swipes through it because like they don't, and they're like, I'm not going to invest my time into it subconsciously into reading this post or looking at it like from the get-go, because it's not worth my time. It doesn't provide me value. Whereas we want whoever looks at any piece of content to associate your brand with, wow, this guy continues to consistently put out valuable content. I'm gonna keep tuning in and I'm gonna keep watching. And that's the very baseline key of what everybody does with social media that I recommend.
Yeah, that's really insightful. I actually never even thought about it like that, which kind of leads me to the next thing, which was a question that was posed last night via the Met PGA Instagram account. And people were asking about kind of quality over quantity or quantity over quality, right? So maybe the both of you can kind of talk about your experience, because now you guys are very established on the social media world. Your content, anything you put out is incredibly well edited. It's highly viewed. It's you're very popular. But starting out, like, well, if you tell me, like, where did you start? You know, for the people that are on here that have some sort of want to be more popular on social media for either their personal brand or for the betterment of the relationship with them and their members at the club, or whatever route that is they want. How'd you guys get started? I mean, quality over quantity, just post all day, or you know, you just talked about the 3 pillars of social media content. So kind of how'd you guys get going?
Yeah. You mind if I start this one, James?
Please, yeah.
No, not at all.
To answer your question straightforward, quality over quantity, I think it's always quality over quantity. People put too much quantity on there, and there's people who say that you got to keep putting on content. I agree, but you got to keep putting on content as long as the value is there. From a psychological standpoint, social media works where if you keep putting out content, like we all know, like we scroll through our news feed, and there's people that we follow, and whenever we see their post, like without even like looking at the post, we see their name and like we scroll because like we know like this guy doesn't have a track record of putting out content that's going to be worth my time. So whereas there's some people where as soon as I see their name, I know they have a track record of stuff that I like. So I take my time and read it. The goal is for your account, and when people see your name and your brand, for it to be associated as an account that is going to be valuable to me, that I'm going to want to spend my time watching. How do you get there? How do you get started? That's a great question. I'm gonna use James' example. From the beginning, we started really slow. We've been working for over 3 years now, and a question I always get is like, and James always gets like, how do you start this? And if you go look at his page, like what's great is like you can go scroll and look through his page all the way to the bottom. There's actually not that many posts out there.
Right.
For 3 years of work, and it's over time. Now it's more frequent now that we figured out like our formula of like, what do people like, what does well, how do we even make this content? Because making the content, it takes a long time as well. And in the beginning, it takes extremely long. And if we weren't completely happy with it in the beginning, we wouldn't put it out. We really watched it over and over again, and we're like, is this something like we really want to see? Like if this shows up on my feed and someone else posted this and like showed up on my feed, would I spend the time to watch this? Would I find this valuable? I think that's the key. There's no rules. You don't have to put content out every day. You don't have to put content out every week. You don't have to put on your stories ever if you don't want to. There's really no rules outside of, in my opinion, making sure that the quality is there. People put out content because they have to. They feel like they have to put out content when they really shouldn't be. If it's not up to standard of what should go out there, it's like a chef. I feel like if they're at a restaurant, and even if it takes them 3-4 times to redo that dish, they're not going to put it out unless it's the quality that it should be. I think that's kind of how you need to look at social media, and how I suggest it for my clients. And from a last part, from a PGA Pro and a club perspective, I think that even I consult with clubs all the time on how they should do social media, and even for PGA Pros, I think it's for the members for the most part, and also start thinking less about what I think is cool, because what I think is cool, and when we first started, James and I like sent me stuff that he thought was cool, and I'm like, it doesn't really kind of matter what you think is cool. What you think is cool are like drone shots, but like people don't really care about drone shots. We can try to test it out, but it might look shiny and cool and high tech, but at the end of the day, is it valuable? Like, am I going to scroll and see drone shots and go, and the vast majority of people that follow you and the members, like, are they going to scroll and see drone shots and go, oh my God, this is amazing, and keep wanting it and watching it over again? I don't think so. And that's kind of where we got to put yourself in the shoes of the member and think of content that falls into those 3 buckets of, this can be either really entertaining for my members, this can be very educational for my members, or this can be like help my members save money, or give them tips on like, hey, like there's a sale going on for these wedges. Like this is where you can save money, or even a tip on like, I I see people. You can even put like,
Travel. You could
yeah,
put a tip on travel. Like, what's a better way to travel? You know, how should I pack my golf bag? I mean, something in when one person realizes like that's great information. I never thought about that. I mean, as traveling pros, you know, we have the insight on like, should we use a club glove or a Sun Mountain bag? Or, you know, what golf bag travels well? You know what? That's great information. It really is. And you know, just kind of how to do little things like that.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
love
I
that.
actually never thought of it in terms of taking your account and taking it a step further with stuff like that. I mean, that's probably a way that you guys have found that you kind of, one of the things that kind of drew people into your account, started paying attention, started sharing it. And now, you know, the content's mixed where, you know, James, I love to talk to you quick about your content. I mean, obviously you're becoming and have become one of the most well-respected short game teachers on the PGA Tour right now. You know, for everyone watching, if you don't know James, he's working with tons of guys on tour. Even you've touched a lot of players, Max Homa, here, everyone. And I'd love for you to kind of maybe tell about some of the guys you're working with. But in terms of your content, okay, and the instructional side of this, okay, because this is kind of where I think, and I'll use myself as an example. People get a little nervous to kind of start, right? And if you think back of when golf instruction became so popular via magazines, right? And articles, and oh, this is the tip. This is the tip.
Sure.
Everyone
Golf
that's reading
Digest.
it should go do this, which we know is not even close to the truth, right? So in terms of, you know, especially right now, social media it's so polarizing, all right, socially with outside of golf. But you see it now with golf, because I've had plenty of students come and go, hey, you know, I was watching a video last night on so-and-so's Instagram, and they told me to do this. How come we didn't do it? And I'm like, you kind of have to sit there and talk with them. How do you feel really comfortable about your literal golf instruction content, and kind of how do you sift through that and decide what's appropriate? Like, how do you feel confident about what you're putting out there, and kind of, you know, have the masses look at it and feel like they're being helped and getting value, but at the same time, you know that sometimes not everything's right for everyone.
Right. I mean, I think the way I talk, like I can hit different audiences, different like handicap levels. The same post that when I talk about bunker shots or spinners, it's kind of generalized and have the how the average person can do it. But then I also throw in a few words that say like, hey, I get it. I know this is hard. That even a tour player looks at it and they go, oh, I know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But the average, the 15 or 18 handicapper doesn't understand. They don't understand what it feels like to have a tight lie, you know, in this situation. And it's kind of the way trying to be comfortable and say, hey, this is kind of for everyone at all levels. And I'm very comfortable at the same time saying, you know, if this is your skill level, I think we should run it. I think you should take the 9-iron out and just run it up there. But here we are talking about spinners, but you know, you kind of hit on both ends of it. And when I start talking about the 9-iron, it's kind of interesting how the tour player will reach out and go, dude, that's so true. It's like, why don't we do that in certain, why do we get so obsessed about this, about trying to hit the perfect shot? And when you can really connect with them, and I think the genuine, like, I'm a normal person, I have feelings, I get just as nervous as you trying to hit these shots, and they sense it, and I respect that. And this is not easy. I think that's a great way to really connect with your audience. And I think the number one most important thing that we've learned as a team, is listen to your audience. When they comment, even if it's 2 comments, listen to them, see what they're thinking, and cater to them. Don't cater to people who you want them to cater to the people that are already watching your stuff and asking questions.
Mhm.
And I mean, they almost decided what the people watching really decides kind of what's going to be coming out soon. What are they thinking? I don't know what people are thinking, but you know, when they start talking to me and asking questions, now you start to know directly what they're thinking, and you should cater to them whether you think it's cool or not. Those are your true followers and the diehards, and I believe those are the people that you need to cater to.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you know, with your
Sorry, I'm gonna switch over to my phone real quick because
do what you gotta do, James. You know, it's kind of unique because you know, I think that COVID last year, when everyone kind of got shut down, I mean, there's definitely people that have been focused on social media and their presence as a golf instructor or a player or whatever value it is. But when COVID hit last year and we all got sent home for 6 or 7 weeks, I mean, I'll use Westchester as an example. We started like an Instagram instructional little page just as a way to stay in touch with our members. You know, we weren't going to be able to see these people for 2 months. And we just wanted them to know, like, hey, like, we're here for you. Like, you know, if you need help, you're practicing at home, like, contact us. So we found value in it that way. And then, you know, we didn't do an amazing job through the summer. We post some stuff here and there, but you know, we've kind of talked a little bit today about relationship building. And I think the value is that no matter what you post, you're creating a relationship with the people that follow you or the people that you're looking to touch or whatever audience it is. And in terms of like the Westchester instructional page, it's just about people knowing that, like, kind of highlighting who's actually teaching, that we're there, that we're available, and just that we want to be there for the members. If it comes to a golf shop, right? Last year, I mean, some places only made money through their Instagram account for like 8 weeks, where everything was closed. People weren't allowed at the club. You weren't allowed into a retail store. But you know, Mrs. Havocamp still needed a shirt and a hat to send to her grandson for his birthday. How are we going to get it to these people? So then I saw that kind of happening. So it's been pretty interesting how the golf and the club and people that are focused on their club, it's now kind of stretching to this much wider audience. And it's just interesting. So that's why I asked you guys, like, how do we touch a bigger audience? And I know you
Well,
kind of touched
I'm
on
gonna
listening, but
right. I'm gonna start out with, you know, kind of like the beginning stages, which is, and I believe everyone's gonna go through. When I first hired Country Club, we started working together. You know, here I am, the client, you know, basically paying a media agency to say, okay, this is, you're going to do the branding and do everything for me. So I'm looking at it from a consumer standpoint saying, okay, it's been like 3 days. There's no post. Why isn't he posting? I'm sending him a bunch of videos. Why isn't he posting? And it's almost like it's not worthy to, I'm looking at it through the wrong lens. I'm looking at it as in, what do I think is cool? Just kind of going back. And I feel like, okay, on a timely manner, and I believe that right now this is what everyone believes. They should be putting out so many posts, and you get to a point where you're like, I can't think of any. I don't have anything. You're better off not doing it, because once you put out information that's kind of irrelevant, or you have a little bit, your audience remembers that. And the more you have fillers of, like, I'm gonna say, I don't know, what's the best way to put it, Danny? What's like a filler post, just a post for the sake of, because you're supposed to have a post, like I don't know, a Happy New Year post. I think from my standpoint, I don't need a Happy New Year post as much as I believe in a Happy New Year. That's, you know, the more posts I have like that, they come for short game tips and
Yeah.
you know,
And
bunker
a lot
videos.
a lot of people also put like very personal stuff, like about their family, on their golf page. but like I'm not saying family's not cool, but people follow you on your golf page for your golf stuff.
Your
Like, you
golf.
got to be very segmented in how and why you're putting content up there and your brand. It's not like you can't put any family stuff. You can put sometimes, but like realistically, let's stick to the objective and why people follow you and what they want to see. I see it too many times where people put family stuff on there, like wishing their wife a happy birthday. I think that's awesome, but it's not really the place to put that on your golf instructional Instagram page. If that's the purpose of your Instagram page, you got to really, I feel like, determine from the get-go what the purpose of your page is for, what value you're going to provide through that page, why people are going to follow you. And like people, like a good example is like James and I, like when we first, we worked for 6 months, probably even just figuring out what his brand should be. Because now after 3 years, people know him as a short game specialist for the most part, and really a wedge guy, but that was by design. 3 years ago, he was working with a couple tour players like Michael Kim, and he worked on everything with them. And he was known for full swing and putting and everything. And but we looked at the market and what was out there, and we saw an availability and opportunity in branding where there was no golf instructor that was especially good at putting short game content out. And that's where we made a cognitive decision to brand James as a short game guy, which is a lot more narrower of a brand. So I think that's just an example of, you got to find a purpose and a niche like brand to really be the overall topic of your account and the content you put in.
Yeah, and I think you can also start where you put out broader content in the beginning and see what your audience likes.
Totally.
And don't have, I think for me in the beginning, I'm like, well, I don't care what that guy says. I'm like, well, this guy who's commenting, like, I don't care what he said. He's like, he's a nobody from the middle of nowhere. Like, I don't care what he, but you know what? That was like, that attitude for me changed very quickly, because I should exactly care what he says. He's spending the time to look at it. These are the people who are coming. Yes, I would love to pick and choose my audience, but I think in the free market, it's so difficult to do that. So as people start to gravitate towards seeing interest in certain things, the way I explain things, the way I go, oh, okay, I guess this is what's hitting home. And then, and then the majority of your videos are kind of based on that. The questions they ask very organically kind of mold you to what you should, in a sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Danny?
Yeah, your audience will give you the feedback that you need.
So let's take it a step further, because most of us watching, the undertone of all this is that we'd hope to put out some content and that our lesson books would absolutely fill up, right? So, I mean, James, I know how successful you've been. I mean, you put out a post saying, I'm going to be at Lake of Isle next month, these dates, these times, like, sign up if you're looking, and you absolutely fill up every single spot available. So in terms of how do we take what we're putting out there and turn that into some sort of monetary value? And I know that sounds like a very narrow-minded question. I get it. There's a greater good, and we're trying to help people and stuff like that. But at the same time, part of the value of this for everyone watching and you guys is that, you get to make a few more bucks teaching, because you're helping your popularity. So how have you turned your following into students? James,
if you don't mind me answering this question.
No, so that's both of you.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. Gets asked all the time. It's a very interesting answer, and the answer is, if your objective, I told this, James, from the first meeting we ever had. and I asked him what he wanted to achieve by hiring me and doing social media. And he told me that it was to gain more awareness in the golf space of who he was, for his brand, for him to have a brand. Because on the PGA Tour, people know who he is, but outside of the PGA Tour bubble, like in the mech section, for example, most people 3 years ago had never heard the name before. And I asked him, well, are you looking to hire me though to increase your book and to get more students? And he said, absolutely not. And I said, great, because if you're hiring me to increase your book, this is never going to work. And that's kind of a really, like, I don't know how to say this. Like, it's not really the answer you're looking for, but you might have expected or looking for. But the real answer is, if you're really trying to use social media to increase your book, you're looking at it the wrong way. I told James this in that first meeting. I said, your book will eventually increase by the work that we do, but the objective can't be that. The objective has to go back to the 3 value buckets. You have to give everything for free. And even the lessons that he puts of content online, like in the beginning, everybody's like, dude, why? Like, this is like, you're giving away all the sauce. Like, you're giving away the secret sauce. Like, but at the end of the day, not really. You give it away for free, and people see it the wrong way of, oh man, I can't be giving away everything. But give away everything for free. And if that's valuable, then people will grow your audience, and then you can monetize that any way you want. Through lessons, selling a product, you can monetize however. But I think it goes back to the value buckets. And if you're so focused on how am I going to convert and increase sales through my social media, I think you're going about it the wrong way. It's kind of like answering your question saying no, like you can't. But when James said, well, then what do you think the timeline is? His next question was, when do you think that timeline is? Like you said, it's eventually going to increase your book. I told him, I have no idea. The answer is, I have no idea. It might be next week. It might be 10 years from now, but you got to keep putting out content that's going to increase your book. And we really had no idea. And it's just kind of you got to do it. And he's one of the few people that saw the value and invested in it. And 3 years later, like, he's kind of reaping the benefits of it. Whereas a lot of people don't necessarily have the patience to invest in me or my services or social media in general without really having a binary answer of, hey, this is going to be done at this time. You're going to growth projection at this. This is exactly what you have to do. And a lot of my answers to him were, I don't know. To his questions were, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I have a track record of getting it done. And the best part is, like, there really is no answer until you do it. And we figure out the answers as we go along and do it. You just got to stick to the principles of the 3 value buckets of content where you're providing value, as well as not doing it for the profit. Like, the profit will come from you providing free value. The value that you get in return, even if you don't increase your sales at all for the next 10 years, as long as you grow your audience. And even if you don't grow your audience, we were talking about this, even if you don't grow your audience and you say you still have the people that you're in your client base stick with you for X amount of time, and they continue watching your stuff and they really enjoy it, and they communicate, and social media becomes a network platform for you, where you can go that route, where your social media page is purely just a networking for you and your current clients, where it's similar to a personal page, and you connect and reach out to your clients that way and communicate through that platform. Like, that's value. Like, you're getting their attention, they're feeling your care and your hospitality and your services. How often, like, putting yourself in your student's shoes, if you're getting a message from your pro pretty often, like checking in on you, following up on your lessons, how you're doing, even personal stuff, like you're going to be following their personal accounts and seeing if they're doing something cool, they're celebrating something, or they're going through a hard time, and you send them a message. Like, that's impactful. Like, that's where I think social media is very personal, and it's very valuable in that perspective, to where you can connect with people whereas if social media didn't exist, that's really kind of hard to do. It's hard to keep in contact with everybody. Like Chris from Trump Westchester's in here. Like we connect with Chris all the time. Just seeing what he's up to and reconnecting and staying in touch. I'm sure all of you guys do that. I think that's where social media is such a valuable tool. And just summarizing everything, you kind of can't go with the objective of, man, I'm doing this to make money. Yeah, you're going to make money if you actually go the other way and don't do this for the money.
Right. If you sit there and say you become so valuable, like no one ever needs a lesson from you, you're going to be super famous. I mean, if you're that guy where it's like, oh, he's got the best information. You put in all this time and effort, putting in, giving out free information. People will sign up. You will have more opportunities. I mean, this is the only way, that I'm speaking to you guys right now, that even anyone in the Met section knows who I am, is because of social media. I mean, completely. Without if I never made this investment with the country club several years ago and say, this is my plan, this is what I want to do, this is how much time I want to invest, and this is how much money I want to invest, it would never have happened. And I believe like where the return is more when I travel, when I go to different places, and the guy working in the bag room says, hey, like, I follow you on social. I mean, that, like, I feel like that's my return. If I have enough guys like that, it almost, I know people are kind of into the information, and when I have an event and I put on social media that I'm going to be teaching at such and such place, that I think that's why now I'm able to sell out. But that was never the goal. Like, I hope I'm able to sell out. I think I'm able to do it a lot different now, because in the beginning, when I'm starting social media, my peers would say, hey, yeah, I see you're working with the country club. Like, man, that's like, how come you only have 200 followers? And, like, the quality of your videos, not that good. Like, I'd get all this advice from other pros saying, like, it needs to look like this or like that. And it's kind of like, well, no, that's what you think. And that's why you only have 600 followers and you've been doing it for 3 years and you can't grow your page. I've completely trusted, like, I have more confidence in teaching chipping than marketing, but country club has probably more confidence in marketing than teaching chipping. So
I've seen him, so let's hope so.
Also, preface, this is not in any way to like sell, like, for you guys to like do like to hire someone to do marketing. This is like, at the end of the day, like, we think everybody should be doing it and trying it on their own. And I really tell people, I promote that, like, before you even like figure out if you want to invest further into it, try it, do it for a while. Like, it doesn't need to be often either.
There are many successful people who do it on their own. And I think when you go, oh, is this video, is it perfect? As long as you're good with the information part of it, because we're not in videography. If we all held our cameras out and we're like looking for the perfect shot, like, we're in golf. We're in golf instruction, golf travel, anything that has to do with golf information. It has nothing to do with how pretty your picture is. As long as your information is better than how pretty your picture is, you're doing a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like focusing on the right stuff. Like, it's not about, if like, I tell people, you should, when they're like, the first thing most people ask, honestly, is, hey man, I'm gonna start doing social media. I've like always been wanting to do. I just never did it because I just didn't have I didn't buy a camera and I didn't learn how to use a camera. I'm like, I actually recommend you to not use a camera. I recommend you to use your iPhone, because that's like, when it's funny, like, when you see content that's video, like on your Instagram page while you're scrolling, that's like clearly from from a camera, you actually there's actually data that proves that you have less likelihood of actually paying attention to it because it's not personal. Like it's more of like it feels like an ad. Whereas if it's shot from an iPhone, it feels personable and it doesn't have that look of like I'm shoving something high production on your face. Like you're not looking for that when you're on social Instagram. You're looking for something personable. So I recommend using an iPhone. And that it just shows like you don't really need all like your video quality doesn't need to be amazing. It doesn't need to be edited well. You really need to focus on the quality of the content and the value that's coming out of it. The information. It's a great example is when we first started working together, like the logo that's up on James's page right now, like James hated it. And the first thing I told James was when I said to him, I'm like, hey, I think it's great. It's simple. And at the end of the day, no one cares what your logo looks like. It doesn't even need to be J. It can be anything. And at the end of the day, no one cares. No one judges you off your logo. And people like are so afraid of like doing a logo and like they stressed out about like, man, did I spend enough on this logo? Like, does this logo look cool enough? Like no one cares. Logo truly means very, very, very little. Like it's just an example of paying attention to and really spending your time focusing on what's actually important.
Yeah, this is great stuff, guys. I really, this is awesome. Let me ask you this, kind of a two-part question here. I'd love to know what mistakes you've made in this process, maybe Danny, or like, what things have happened that you've had to kind of learn from and grow from that maybe you can kind of help us learn from as well. Same thing with James. And then in terms of like the actual content, like personally, I'm interested, like when you're like, how much work goes into that? So Dan, especially for you that you're doing this, like this is kind of your job now, is that it, not kind of, this is your job. Like how much time are you putting into a 1-minute post and then what have you figured out is kind of the sweet spot in terms of timing? Because if I see someone post an instructional thing on Instagram and it's 5 minutes long, I'm not watching. I'm sorry, especially in this like fast-paced social media, like it's hard to get someone to kind of sit down. So like, what have you found to be the sweet spot? How much time do you really take and put into it? Because I think people are going to be really surprised at your answer to that. And then both of you, like, what kind of mistakes have you learned from in this process?
Yeah. First question, mistakes wise, I think biggest mistake you can do is put out too much quantity. Like we talked about, like you got to, at the end of the day, like it comes down to putting yourself in your followers' shoes. Like no matter who you are, like let's say like my favorite entertainer is The Rock. Like if The Rock puts out content every single day, that might be okay. If he puts out content like every hour, I don't care how much I love The Rock, it's going to be annoying. I'm not going to want to watch it. Like I might like the sweet spot. Like if I put myself in the shoes of like a Rock fan is like once a week maybe. And so I'm going to base it off that. And also, so yeah, biggest mistake is putting too much stuff out. I think really dialing it in, and that leads also into the second question of how long it takes to conceptualize and create and make one simple 1-minute post. I think I spend a lot of time with James for each of my clients. I spend a lot of time, as you know, Mike, and even with my PGA Tour clients, I'll spend Monday through Wednesday with them, 9 holes each day, and I'll maybe put 2 videos out, one on Tuesday and one on Wednesday. And also like that's 2 videos out of over 100 I'd probably take. And even with James, like I'll put up 2 videos for him out of over 100 that I take. In the beginning, it might be even 1,000. I'll put 1 video out of 1,000 I take. It's just we really got to nail down the quality before we put something out. I think even the time that it takes to write the copy, people don't think about that. The captions really take a lot of time. even thinking of the idea and even what to say takes a lot of time. If it's something where you're actually vocalizing in the video, it has to be very concise. Like you brought up a good point. Like no one wants to see you like mumbling on the video, so you got to really be quick about it. You gotta make a 10-minute video that you think you could talk about for an hour, but you got to make it into 30 seconds. That's really tough, and you got to really practice. I think it's a skill set. Like James share about how when we started, there's videos up there that are like 15 seconds long, but it took us like 2 hours to keep shooting that 15 seconds because like he'd mess up or it wouldn't be perfect, or we like did it and then like there's one small part we didn't like and we got it perfect. We really want to focus on the quality. What was the third question, Mike? The sweet spot.
So I want to go ahead.
That's a simple answer. The sweet spot is, I think, later in the day. I would post in between 6 to 9 p.m. because that's generally when, if you put yourself in the follower's shoes, that's when you're toning it down for the day. You're in your house, you're in bed, and you have more time to pay attention to the post and even write feedback on it and really look at it. Whereas like if you're looking at it on the subway or if you're looking in your car or on the course, like you have very limited amount of time to do so.
I think it's almost like you look at famous authors and you go, why did he get famous? He wrote this book. Well, I'm pretty sure that's not the first book he wrote. He's probably written a lot of books. We just don't know about the 1,000 other books he's written. And trying to get it perfect, you don't even know what perfect is. Like I don't know what perfect is. I think as we do it, 100 posts later, 50, 150 posts later, you get better at it and you get better at talking to your audience. So if you're starting at 0, you don't know who your audience is, you don't have one. And then you start putting out content out there, and then you guys, even just in the Met section, connect together on Instagram or social media and start talking amongst yourselves, and you will start to get a following and you start directly answering those questions. I think answering every question asked, whether you think it's smart or dumb, when you get a DM or a comment saying, oh, this guy, what a stupid question, I think you should spend the time to quickly answer it. I think that's really important. Some of the mistakes that I think I've seen other people make, just whatever formula you think, Instagram or social media, there's a formula. Okay, you got to have this many followers. You need this. You need this many posts. Those are all non-organic ways to grow, and buying followers, I think, is a big mistake. I've seen some of my peers do that. That's the easiest way for your information to not pop up. Danny, you want to I think you could.
Yeah, I think we don't believe in ads. If you make quality content on those 3 pillars of value, people are gonna come to you if you consistently do it again and again and again. You shouldn't. It's more valuable when someone organically finds your account and becomes a follower and invests their time into your content rather than having that content be shoved down their throat. It's way more valuable when it's done organically. Like yeah. when your peers send something to you and you watch it, that's way more valuable than you seeing it as a sponsored post.
Yeah, and what kind of value did you guys find? And you guys have done it, so the collaboration, let's say just between 2 people, 2 accounts, kind of for a common goal here. What kind of value did that bring to each of your accounts personally?
James, you want to answer that? Oh, from my perspective, it's the reason why I do share a lot of stuff of James's stuff on my account, my golf account, because there's mutual parties involved that benefit. A lot of I focus on making James's content stuff that would be of quality for my page as well. And that's kind of where the standard was, where from the beginning, like I rarely did put James's stuff on my page because I didn't think it was there yet. I didn't think the quality was there yet. And even now, like as long as it's not the quality, it's not going up there. And if I think it's really valuable, then I'm gonna share it. It's kind of, I there's collaboration, but I also separate the two. And just like the rock example, like people follow my golf page for a certain purpose, and it's not to see James's stuff all the time. If they wanted to see James's stuff, they can go see on James's stuff.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. So there's been a few questions that's popped up in the chat here. Is there value on following accounts that our followers follow in terms of gaining some popularity and some notoriety and just kind of creating those relationships online? What do you guys think?
Following accounts that your followers follow. I do think so, from a perspective of you will learn what your followers and what people are into. You can, even if you're not into it, like you said, like it's important to know what your followers are into. So looking at accounts that your followers and the golf world is generally following, and figuring out, hey, this account does this well, or this account doesn't do this well, and you'll be able to notice. I think getting that information is going to be important. And even networking and asking people, like, hey, did you think it was cool? And even noticing, like, when people share things and people talk about things, like, what's popular, what people are into, like create, like when, let's say when Bryson won at Winged Foot, like it's a hot topic and people are really hot and into distance. But more specifically, like how hard Bryson is swinging, and is that okay? Is that something that I should be doing? Or should I get a longer driver? Is that going to benefit me? I think that kind of topic you can get just from just being aware and noticing what people are into right now.
No, yeah, that's great. I think that a major undertone of what both of you have said is that keeping some sort of like genuine feel to what you're doing on your account is how kind of people start to like you and can kind of feel the value in listening to what you're saying, and that's kind of how you are taking the steps forward. Like James, James, I watched your account because your content was great, and then I liked it. We met, we hung out, and so like now I watch. Danny, like same thing. Like I liked your stuff, so I started to follow it, and it was genuine and it was unique. And like the space that you jumped into, I think was incredible, because world where like all of us are looking for the inside scoop on some PGA Tour players and their lives and just kind of an inside look, it's just not an experience many people get, and you get to kind of share that. So that's incredible. And then James, you've nailed, especially on a country club level in terms of teaching. We always kind of talk about how maybe we missed the boat a little bit on short game and putting and just like giving some more short game lessons. And we're focusing on the driving range and the TrackMan and the indoor hitting bay and all that stuff. That was a space that like we didn't have a go-to guy. Like if I wanted to go learn something about the full swing, I could click on, Claude Harmon's page and go find it. But like I couldn't really find anything on chipping. So it's great how both of you guys really over time, and you shared with it today, really found your space and what worked for both of you and how that's kind of grown. And it's, personally, obviously you guys are friends. It's been nice and pretty cool to watch it over time expand. So like kind of tie this all in, because you guys have been so generous with your time here. For everyone watching, like what would be like your one most important piece of advice for all of us here watching who kind of would love to experience, maybe have some fun with our Instagram account? Again, everyone here might have a different goal, right? Someone's goal might be, hey, listen, I want to grow my account and I want to quit working at this club and do what James does. Or someone's goal might be, hey, listen, like I work at a club with 1,000 members. I haven't met everyone yet, and I just want people to know who I am within this space. What's your biggest, piece of advice?
You go ahead, James.
Yeah, I feel like, don't obsess about like researching the right hashtags. I mean, you're doing it. Your mind is in the wrong place. You know, find something valuable information that you want to put out there, and keep doing it. And as golf pros, we have the insight in golf. We have the tricks and tips that people are going to want to know. Talk to them, listen to them, and try to give back that way. I think that's the biggest way, where you don't necessarily are trying to find that perfect. Try to find good information and give it out, even if you're just talking to someone. um, I think that's the best tip, you know. And it's not about the followers, it's about making sure, like, the people who are looking at your stuff, you know, if it's like the next door neighbor who is a baseball player that doesn't actually play golf, that's irrelevant. That's not going to help you. I don't care how famous they are. But what's going to help you is actual golfers, and saying, oh, that's interesting, and stirring up that, and getting people to ask you questions. It's social media. Being social on there is the most important way. And you've got to be somewhat active. You can't not be on your phone and make this work. Even if it's 30 minutes a day, if you turn your phone on 30 times for 1 minute each separately, and you just answer questions and like other people's posts, I think that's huge. Liking, following golf, if you have a golf account, because we're all PGA, and following other golfers, interacting with them so they interact with you, and just kind of doing that organically is probably the number one advice.
Yeah, for me, like, those are all right. For me, my input is, I think the big one is, not everybody has to agree with you. You know, you can say stuff is cool, and people will probably write. Some people probably write, that's not cool, that sucks. But as long as you have people that follow you, that agree with you and think that's cool, what you think is cool to them. That's really what matters, and kind of find your niche that way. Continue putting out those three pillars of content of entertainment, educational, and monetary value. The follower numbers are so irrelevant. I that's like one last thing, like, we didn't talk about, is the follower number is so irrelevant. I told James from the beginning, like, he's like, so what's growth pattern? How are we going to measure growth? And I told him the amount of people that are going to see your posts, whether they follow or not, is irrelevant. So you can have 500 followers, and if you reach 10,000 people on your posts, that's kind of phenomenal.
It's huge.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people with 100,000 followers, but their posts get 500 views, and that's because they don't go by those three pillars of value. And if you continually put out content following those pillars, then you're gonna see growth, and you're gonna eventually get benefit out of it, without a doubt. Even if you like, you just got to do it. As simple as that. The one thing I really recommend everybody in here to do is go purchase. It's like my social media, like, Bible. The book's called Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk. Garyvee's a New York City guy. He's like the grandfather of the pioneer of social media. Go buy that book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. It talks a lot about just the principles of how social media algorithm works, from a very basic psychological level of, jabs are those three valuable pillars of content that are valuable to you. And then the hook is the piece of content that wants you to convert, whether it's to buy or go do something, or it's kind of more like an ad, like call to action. But that call to action, that hook, as a boxer, if you throw a hook every single time, that hook's not going to be very effective. If you got to throw 9 jabs for every hook for that hook to be effective. So in that essence, keep putting out valuable free content of jabs. and that one hook every 10 times. That's a call to action.
Guys, this has been really great. I can't thank you enough for the time you've spent here with us today. James, Danny, thank you so much for coming on and just kind of sharing your experiences. And we wish you the best of luck moving forward. Hopefully we see you up here in New York this coming summer.
Yes, definitely. We're honored to be asked to do this, and thank you so much for having us.
Thank you guys for having us. Really looking forward to connecting with everybody. Hopefully we get to, both James and I were planning on being up in the Met section a lot this summer. So looking forward to connecting with all y'all.
Awesome. And guys, they
right.
posted their social media accounts. It's in the chat. Give them a follow, reach out to them.
Yeah, shoot us a direct message or an email anytime. But we'd love to connect with y'all, even on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with y'all, you guys.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good day, guys. Yes. All right, guys. So that was great. Next guest here is Nick Bova. Nick, if you can unmute yourself and. Hopefully he's here. I know he's on here. It's just a matter.
I saw him. Yeah, can you hear me? I saw him on.
It's a matter of getting him talking.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Nick, is that you?
You got me? Yeah, I'm here.
I got you. Here we go. Thanks, dude. Thanks a lot for coming on today. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I know
it's a cool topic,
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've been following you for a while. I've known you for a long time, and one of the main reasons we wanted to have you on is one, you've been part of this section, and Danny and James gave us a ton of great information. But the thing that I think is interesting about you is that you are the director of instruction at Hamilton Farms, and you work for the club, but you are also gaining this huge following on social media. I mean, if for you of you that don't know, Nick has 17,000 people that follow his account and watch his content and respect his teaching. So Nick, if you can just kind of tell us what kind of made you get started? Is it even something that you planned out, or is it just something that kind of started happening?
So it was, it was planned out. I was working at Illinois at the time, and I just wanted to come up with a way to build a bigger business. I wanted to reach more people. The metropolitan area is huge. And I just wanted to have, a platform to where I could get my information out there and to allow people to see what I have going. And, sorry.
No, you're good.
For people to be able to see what I have going, and hopefully, people will take an interest in it, and it kind of converts into lessons. And, my kind of initial strategy as I began this was, I had to figure out a way to kind of get people to look at my page. And that's when I started this stuff, reaching out to George DeGankis out in California. And, the plan that I had to, kind of be his guy on the East Coast. And from there, it kind of took off. George and I have we've developed a nice relationship. And, if somebody asks him who to go to on the East Coast, he's generous enough to say me, so, that relationship was big. And then, putting out content that I thought people could understand and take for themselves, and hopefully use on the range or the golf course their next time out.
No, yeah, your content's obviously amazing, and the thing I'm really interested about hearing right now from you is that you're in a unique situation where you have this unbelievable gig. And how has your social media, has it had any effect on your relationship with the club or the members there, or the people who hired you? What kind of effect are you seeing in that sense? Because I feel like some people are nervous because your employer doesn't always love it if they think that you want to be somewhere else all the time. So I'm not saying that's what you want, but your notoriety and your popularity is growing so much that it might be an option of yours to just kind of be on your own. So how has it affected your relationships at the club?
So I've always looked at it as an opportunity to showcase the club.
Hmm.
You know, I've never looked at it as a way for me to find my next gig. You know, when I was at Siwanoy, I thought it was a way to highlight what Siwanoy had. When I was at Anchor Golf Center, I thought it was a way to highlight what Anchor had. You know, Hamilton Farm is an unbelievable place. I'm extremely lucky to be there, but I think it's also a way to highlight what we have as a facility. So in terms of, you know, what, say, that relationship between myself and Hamilton, you know, I think it's been a good one because the membership sees what I do, you know, on a daily basis when I'm on the range on the lesson tee, but you know, not everybody's able to schedule time to come out, or not, you know, everybody's lives are busy, and you know, especially in 2020, people were playing a lot of golf. I mean, they were taking a lot of golf lessons, but they were playing even more golf. So, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody on the range working on one of the posts that I did from the couple that, you know, the day prior or 2 days before or whatever it is. And, you know, I'll kind of mention something to them down on the range, and it's just been a nice way for me to connect more with my membership, because, you know, they do watch and they do listen and they do pay attention. So it's been a good way for me to connect with those people.
No, yeah, that's incredible. I mean, that's definitely, you know, from the first hour here, we were talking to Danny and James on just kind of creating these relationships. And that's kind of if you start with that as the value, whatever goal it is that you're looking for, you know, you kind of get to that place. In terms of your content, how are you, I asked James earlier in the hour, in an era where information is so vast, right? And it's kind of everywhere. Um, how do you make your decisions on what you want to post and grabbing the eyes and being confident in what you're doing? I mean, obviously you're confident in what you're teaching, but you know, it's not for everyone, it's for someone. How do you kind of sift through all of that to do what you're doing?
You know, I typically a post that I'll do, if it's just say a drill based or an instructional based piece, it's typically something that I did that day, you know, within one of the sessions that I had with somebody that day, you know. So I rarely sit there and think about, you know, what am I going to do today? What do I think is eye catching, or what is, say, what do the people want? It's more based on kind of what happened in that day. And typically what I'll find is, you know, you guys see it. You have somebody that comes to the range and they're having an issue with this, and then the next person comes and they're having a similar issue, and somebody else comes and they're having a similar issue. So, you know, the goal is to not reach every single person. You know, I think everybody takes in this information so much so that they think it's always, everything is automatically for them. But, you know, I look at it as I'm trying to fit one certain kind of group, you know, on that particular post. And, you know, hopefully that person, you know, I keep it simple enough and that person can digest it enough so that they're able to take it out on their own.
No,
You know, I think that's a big piece of it. Is there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of good information. There's a lot of bad information. But for me, what I try to do is I try to give as much kind of concise information as I can for how somebody can do it and what it is they're looking for. You know, when they get out to the range, you know, what would the result potentially be? What would it not be? Those types of things. You know, so if they have that understanding when they go out there, when they look at what it is that we're you know, trying to convey in a message on a you know, a 30-second Instagram post, they have some sort of an idea.
totally. And it's been pretty interesting over the last few years, right? We've seen this huge shift from you know, our members coming to a lesson going, oh, well, I read this article in Golf Digest and this is what they told me to do. Is this right? To, hey, I was on YouTube last night, or I was on Instagram last night and I saw so-and-so doing this. Let's do it. How are you managing that? Because I'm sure you've had people come to you
every day.
Exactly.
I mean, every day.
So,
you know, I had let's see, last Sunday I did, I don't know, 2 Sundays ago, I had, 8 hours. And I think every single person came in saying, either I was watching you on Instagram, I was watching so-and-so on Instagram, I was watching YouTube. And at that point, you kind of have to, manage what it is that they are watching, you know? So what I'll do is, based on what it is that they're, say, struggling with, I might say, look for these posts in my account. Look at, other great instructional accounts. Me and my golf, those guys are like straight instruction. That's it. Look at, Mike Bender. Bender and I have different philosophies on things, but what Mike does is really, really good. So I'll send people to Bender's account. I'll send people to Martin Chuck's account. I'll send people to James's account, guys that do things under what it is that we're talking about inside of a lesson, and I think that kind of helping navigate them to which content they should look into, I think kind of helps not have people go off the deep end and kind of climb down these rabbit holes. And next thing you know, they're doing something that is so off the wall. It's, almost the opposite of what it is the message you're trying to convey.
Yeah, because it was funny. 20 years ago, I wasn't teaching golf 20 years ago, but people, I'm sure, have had this experience where it was literally magazines, right? Beginning of the month, like Golf Digest showed up, and that second week of that month, you were given lessons trying to get rid of everything they read in a magazine that they thought was for them. So it's kind of funny now on social media, that's more on a day-to-day basis, right? That's more and day-to-day.
I think a big part of it too is, I've had a lot of people coming in saying, this goes more into as a coach, but I have a lot of people coming in saying, I watched this and this is my fault and this is what I think I need to do to fix it. And I think as a coach, our job is to understand cause and effect. And so that person, like, they come in, they're like, I'm steep, I'm doing this, I need this drill based on what I saw on YouTube. I think we have to kind of reframe it into, yes, that's what you're doing, but this is the reason why you're doing it. And then this is how we can fix it. And then this is what you can go watch. And this is what, if you want to search for it, you would go search for this or this or this.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
I think that's
almost like you start managing it for them.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's definitely a great thing. Like, what social media has such an impact on golf as a full landscape now, Nick, I'd say, right? Mm-hmm. Teaching, like high PGA Tour highlights, clubs are putting their club championship on there now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What pros and cons? What are you seeing from your experience that's we're moving in the right direction, and things that maybe we're moving in the wrong direction? Because again, I used a bigger example earlier where like social media and just news in general, right? And everything that's going on in the country, whatever. Now going to a much smaller scale in the golf world, no one's getting hurt, but the information is the same. It can be great information, it can be terrible information, and some people think it's really good information, and some people, it's a kind of a very personal thing. Where do you see this going, and do you think it's a good thing?
I think overall, I do think it's a good thing. I think there's enough really good coaches out there, and there's enough really good information that I think you're starting to see if people really follow, if I have guys that come in for lessons, and they follow George, and they follow Bender, and they follow Martin Chuck, and they follow Jeff Smith, and all these great names and great instructors that have all this great information. And I think what you're starting to see is almost more of you're seeing almost more of an alignment in terms of to be successful in playing golf, you got to have, say, these characteristics. Not every single person is the same, obviously, and everybody can do things differently, but you're seeing a lot of pivot stuff being talked about in the same way now from coaches. You're seeing wrist angles being talked about from kind of the same way, delivery patterns, all of these things, footwork, speed, ground force reaction, all this stuff. There's so much research now out there that people are willingly presenting and just putting their information out there, which is so generous of them. But I think we're moving in the right direction, away from like this quote unquote fake news, more to kind of what's actually happening based on science and based on what we're finding through technology.
Yeah, I also think that one of the pros coming from it is that I think there's a more of a willingness of people to share their information with other
Yeah,
people.
I mean, I've always gone into my social platforms with the idea of, I'm going to give everything that I have, all the information that I have, because at the end of the day, somebody can take what I say and they can try to implement it on their own. But at the end of the day, they're not the expert. I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had hundreds of people come for a lesson after saying, I've watched your Instagram video and I tried this and I couldn't quite get it, and then they come for a lesson, because they want to get it based on, because they don't really have 100% understanding of what it is you're trying to do. So then that allows you to be the expert, and you make a little revenue off of it, obviously. And if you work it the right way, it turn them into a long-term client, and it kind of works out both ways. It's a positive relationship.
Yeah, that's great. And you're actually segueing me into kind of where I want to take this in terms of monetizing. And I'm going to let Joe take over. He's going to ask you some stuff. And Joe, I'd love for you to introduce Amanda, who's on here, and kind of get these two talking about the next step here.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Nick, yeah, thanks a lot. I'm a follower of your page. Love your content.
Thanks, Joe.
If you could just kind of echo your thoughts. So what question I had was, quantity over quality. Cause I kind of, the pages that I follow, I had thought the opposite, but those guys came in, James and Danny, and they said quality was more important than quantity. So what are your thoughts? Cause I do see you do have a lot of posts.
So I've done social media workshops and stuff like that early on. I really kind of dove into trying to build an account 2 years ago, and I've seen everything that I've seen says just posts. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to be a post, just to where somebody gets in front of it. So, Danny was talking about the book by Garyvee. Garyvee is a freaking genius, and he talks about posting 2 to 3 times a day, and he talks about the content doesn't have to be great. It just has to be content, So the way that I looked at it, summer of 2019, I started posting like one fluff piece. So I do 2 posts a day. The first post was like a fluff piece. It was a video of Tiger or Phil or Jordan Spieth, mainly those 3. Tiger really is the only one that really moves the needle. But so what I would do is I'd post that, and then people would see it. They would follow my account because they liked, what they saw. And then I would then hit them again later on that day with an instructional piece. So then it's kind of like the jab hook, right? So I'm hitting them with fluff stuff that's fun to watch, that's cool, that they're going to share with their buddies, and then I'm going to hit them later on that day with an instructional piece. So it also brings them in. Also, one of the way the algorithm works, as soon as you get a follower, the next time you post, your content's going to be in one of the first couple videos that they see, or however you want to look at it. So I gained a huge following just based on doing that stuff, because people see videos that they think are cool, and then they like it, or they follow it, they send it to their buddies, and then it turns into followers, which then look at your instructional content. And then I'm telling you, almost every day for about 6 months, I would look at my my DMs, and there would be 2 or 3 DMs there from somebody in the Northeast looking to come out for a lesson, and I was able to monetize it that way. I literally did nothing. I just searched Tiger Woods hashtags and then posted my own stuff and turned it into a client base basically.
That's great.
So, yeah, I mean, if I could give say one big piece of advice just for people starting out is find the stuff that kind of goes viral that people like, and then hit them with the good content that you want to put out on your own, and kind of see what happens, because that's what I did, and I saw huge returns on it, not only in terms of people seeing my stuff, but monetarily, it was big.
Love it. How about when it comes to creating content? I know you have a lot of posts where, you put some subtitles in. I do that myself on my own page. If you could just talk about what kind of apps you use, if you're on a computer, if you do it right on your phone, how are you creating that content? And maybe a couple different apps that you use.
So I actually only use InShot. So it's
Nice, me too.
INSHOT. That's all I use. I use the premium version. It's like $14 a month maybe, or $14 a year. I can't even remember. But so the reason why I put say subtitles into all my posts is because I think there's a lot of situations where people can't actually turn on the sound to actually listen to what it is you're saying. So if you can write out what it is that you're trying to convey inside of your post, then people can actually look at it while they're at work without turning the volume on, and
Yeah.
get the point of what it is they're trying to do. I read something recently that said your algorithm gets juiced 5 times more if somebody saves your post than if they like it or if they comment on it. So in that situation, you post something, you got your subscript in there, maybe they hit the save button so that they can come back later and then listen to what it is you're trying to say. All that does is just boost your ability to be seen by more people.
Yeah.
So I keep it simple. I use my phone, I use InShot, that's about it. I found in the last 3 months I just started doing reels. I mean, I think this is an easy hack for anybody, but I just started doing reels.
Mm-hmm.
And my normal posts would get 150 to 200 likes with 6,000 views, whatever. I mean, my average reel gets 600 likes and 35 to 40,000 views. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Well,
it seems to me. Sorry to go ahead.
Go ahead.
That seems to me the reels is kind of stealing an idea from TikTok, right? Because you could kind of scroll. For those of you that aren't familiar with TikTok, just a different platform that can be used. We might talk about it a little later, but it seems like you could just constantly kind of flick and see more content. So it seems like you get more exposure.
I would say currently with how Instagram is formatted, I mean, heck, I had a in probably the last 3 months, I've had 5 posts or 5 reels that have gone over 100,000 views, and one's almost at 350,000. And
Nice.
that one particular one itself, it turns into 500 or 600 followers. Like, it's crazy. But
yeah,
you don't. And the cool thing about it, reels are up to 30 seconds. And what I found, kind of the sweet spot is no talking. You're just demonstrating something, 5 to 7 seconds, and always put music to it, because people, what I'm understanding is that people are actually searching based on songs, right? With reels. I could be completely wrong, but just what I've found, that songs that I've used in the reels that are more popular at the moment are getting more views. So, and more interaction with people, so it gives you a chance to do something short, something sweet. It doesn't have to be brand new information. It can be something that that is always, has been out there for a long time. But put your own twist on it and go from there. Make it interesting as much as you can.
That's great. How about post versus story posts. You know, me personally, whatever I have a post, I share it on my story. I think there's two types of followers. I think there's people that scroll the news feed, and there's some people that just look at stories. So if you could just share your thoughts on that.
I think you see the people that just scroll through stories are also the people that scroll through reels, right? So I think you can catch two, or you can catch one segment with two types of, two uses of the platform. Instagram wants you to use everything that they have, right? So they want you to use stories, they want you to use posts, they want you to use reels, they want you to use IGTV, they want you to use all those different things. They want you to use their shop, they want you to do all that stuff. I think I don't do it much myself, no reason in particular why, but the fact that you post your story, or you post your post inside of a story is genius, because people will just click on it, and you direct them to go to your post, and you'd be surprised as much if you just tell somebody to go do something, you'd be surprised how much they do it.
Yep.
So if you look at all these other big accounts, you look at George, you look at Golf Better Tucson, you look at David Woods, you look at all these guys with these big huge accounts, Me and My Golf, all their stories are posts that they've already posted, and a lot of them are telling you to, you're either swiping up, or they're directing you to go to the post that you already put up on your normal page. So it just allows people to see what it is that you're doing. I think it's great. Do more of it.
That's great. So I guess one question to wrap it up, Nick. First of all, thanks so much for sharing your information. Former Mets section player. Also, what number were you on the player decade of the decade list? I think you're out of our section for 4 years, and you still made the list.
20. I was there for 7 years. I think I was 29th.
Oh, well, thanks for giving the other guys a chance. I appreciate it.
It's tough. Listen, man, it's tough to compete with a lot of those guys. Those guys are so good. It's like playing in tour events every week. It's insane.
Yep. Just one question to wrap up. I learn a lot for my own page, by following guys like you, by following Gankus, a couple local guys that I follow that I feel like put out really good content. One guy in your section, Ryan Hager from Plainfield, I feel like puts out really good content. I learned a lot from him. Mike Bury in Texas, guy's got like 150,000 followers, but
yeah, Mike's the man. Mike's awesome.
Yeah. Well, what accounts do you follow that I would say inspire you or gives you ideas for content?
Actually, definitely Ryan. So Ryan and I are actually on the I guess communications committee here in the New Jersey section. So we're working on some stuff, or we're going to be working on some stuff for 2021 and beyond to kind of figure out ways to grow people's accounts here in the Jersey section based on, if they want to put in the time to do it. But I follow Mike Bury, Me and My Golf, Bender, George, Martin Chuck, Andrew Rice, Jeff Smith, James Jordan. I think James Jordan is a freaking genius. The guy, what he does with junior players is insane. Who else? Those are I'd say those are probably the main ones. Scott Cowks is off the charts good. The guy's freaking, if you guys don't know who he is, go check him out. COWX, the guy's, and
yeah.
he does, I mean, you probably know, Joe, but he does so many certification classes and all this stuff. The information he has is ridiculously good.
Yeah.
So that's those are kind of my go-tos.
Awesome. I got to throw one more in there because I was so pumped that Danny said it was Garyvee. If you don't follow Garyvee on Instagram,
man, Gary is, I mean, the guy's a savant when it comes to this stuff, man. The guy, he's so smart. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if I might add real quick, follow these guys, interact with them, comment on their posts, comments, send them DMs, send them questions, build a relationship. James said that at the end of, I think Danny said it as well towards the end of their presentation, building relationships with these people. I've gotten to know a lot of these guys. I've never met them face to face, but you know, I know a lot of these guys, and you know, they know me by name. I mean, I'm a nobody relative to a lot of these guys, you know, and you know, we've established relationships just by me kind of bugging them and asking them questions and commenting on their posts and things like that, you know. So and you'd be surprised that, you know, you might have a buddy that knows one of these guys, and it helps make that connection as well. Like, I'm going to have James come out. James is going to come do short game clinics for me at Hamilton Farm this year, because one of my best buddies is close with James down in Florida, you know. So the connections, and my buddy in Florida made the connection through social media, you know. So it's like, you know, get onto those big accounts, ask them questions, bug them, like, comment, that type of stuff. They'll start to see who is consistent, and they'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks so much for jumping on today. And
yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great winter.
Thanks. You guys too.
All right, thanks. All right, guys. Thanks, Nick, James, Danny, and Mike. We're going to switch gears here. We're going to talk about how you can add value to your club by incorporating a golf shop Instagram or golf shop social media page. We're going to bring in Amanda Davis, PGA professional, golf shop manager, 2019 Merchandiser of the Year from Essex County Club. Hey, Amanda, how you doing?
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. We're really looking forward to this. You know, one of the really cool things about, I guess, the Zoom time here is we get to reach out to these people outside of our section. Amanda used to work in our section, actually, former Met section PGA professional. But we're very lucky to have you back. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, ironically with Bova at Friar's Head. So it's kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is funny. That's great. Small world. So our goal today, we're gonna kind of just touch on how you use your tuxedo, or not your tuxedo, but your Essex County Club Instagram, and you know what you've done well with that. We're gonna highlight that. Amanda has a great presentation for us, which we're gonna get to in a minute. But you know, the reason we came up with this idea is I started a golf shop at the Tuxedo Club this past summer, and grew to about 500 followers in less than a year, which was pretty good. We've got a small club here. But I was in charge of making content at the club. And, you know, one of the ways that I gather content and ideas and get creative with it is by following other pages. And one of the best pages that I do follow is your page at Essex County Club. I learned a lot from your page. I get, you know, creative ideas from it. So just wanted to, you know, thank you for that. And thanks for coming on and sharing.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're just learning as we go. We've only been doing it for a few years, but we've built about a 1,200 person follower base, and I would say 2 years of doing it. So probably bigger than our original expectation when we started. So
yeah. Awesome. So just, you know, before we get to your presentation, I just wanted to ask you like one or two questions here. First question, what gave you the inspiration to start your page? Was it a club that you were following that gave you the idea, or it's just something, you know, that really popped and you wanted to bring that to Essex?
yeah, I think the overall theme today has been how big social media is in our life right now, and how much our members are following it and just wanting to be a part of it. So I was going to kind of touch on this in the presentation, but when we wanted an account, or it wasn't an immediate like, yeah, let's make an Instagram for Essex. It was kind of forced us to take a step back and say what it is we're really trying to accomplish with our account. And you know, that was kind of a helpful step in being successful with this. So
great. I guess, you know, one more question before we get to the presentation. What other club accounts are you following? Because I know I mentioned I get a lot of ideas from you guys. I get a lot of ideas from our own Met PGA Instagram account. Amanda McKnight does a phenomenal job there. Garyvee, I follow him. Westchester Country Club, their golf shop page is really good. Get a lot of ideas from them. So how about you? Which ones do you follow?
Those are all good ones. I also follow our New England section account, Mass Golf. So it's a bit of a balance. You can't take everything from, say, a resort course. So like I follow Cabot and Pinehurst because those are very professionally run Instagram accounts. There's a lot to be taken from that, but it's amazing how like you get one thing from here or there that
Yeah.
there was a small course in Michigan that I followed. I think it was, I can't think of it. But it's funny now, the girl that managed it is a rep out in New England. So like after she left, it kind of went away. So, but yeah, I really just follow every single golf course Instagram I can follow. And I maybe don't have one in particular that stands out, but I'll get something from a little bit of everywhere. So
Yeah. Awesome. So, the really cool thing about this, you've heard the phrase golf professional wears many hats. This is just a new hat that's kind of added, to our list here, social media kind of content creator. So the really unique thing about you or I, we didn't go to school for this, but we jumped in. It's something that we find very fun and exciting to do, and it's created value at our club. So I think everyone watching here, if you're a head professional or you're an assistant that's aspiring to be a head golf professional, this is a really unique way to create value for your club, for your membership. It's a way to showcase your staff and your merchandise. And we're going to get to this with Amanda's presentation, but really excited.
awesome. And actually, it was quite nice hearing from James and Danny, quality over quantity, because that was one thing I was a little self-conscious about, because we're not pumping out content nonstop.
Yeah.
Really trying to make sure it's the right content. So it's nice to have that validation that they do the same thing there. So
Yeah.
So just to give you a little bit of a view of Essex. So we're a super old school club. We're the 6th club in the USGA. Donald Ross, of course, he was the head pro, the designer. He kind of learned some of his, architecture at Essex, trying different things on this unique property. He lived on the golf course. His house is still there on the golf course, visible. So it's a really cool story. Very much a generational country club with the various sports, and golf is a small part of that. So I already touched on it, but the club wasn't immediately when we went to the board, yeah, let's do this. It was, why do we need to have an Instagram? What's the benefit for Essex? So it forced us to take a step back, and we kind of created these 4 goals in our mind of what type of account we wanted to have for Essex. So those are our internal community, how we're really strengthening that community at Essex between the membership, our external community, enhancing our brand around this golfing community, and crazy social media following out there. Hopefully also selling a few more shirts and promoting our events and merchandise events and so on. So, and then finally an outlet for promoting our team, both for their brand and their instruction, but then also hopefully our members super engaged with our team. So help us to tell a story and make even an intern feel like a king in doing that. So within these 4 points, I just kind of want to share some of the content that we've created to fulfill those goals. So you'll see the video on the right side here. We had our 100th playing of the 4-ball last or 2 summers ago, 2019. You'll notice that the content is very much switched between the golf and what else was going on that weekend. And hopefully that allows people to check out in the archives and bring them back to one of the best weekends, I'd say, in the history, and most important weekends in the history of our club. So really cool event there.
Cool.
So we share live streaming. I think I started more as a live stream. Now I realized, hey, they're amateur golfers and probably don't want to live stream the good and the bad. So I basically will follow along, kind of give highlights, and wait to post anything until I know it's, we did have a shank in our club championship this year. Thankfully it was not live streamed. So we'll also post those winners to our page. So you'll see a couple different examples of how we've done that. And the big thing is, I think you can kind of get to the point where you're like, all right, the tournament's over. Let's get a picture of the winners at the scoreboard. You don't want your feed to look like the same picture over and over again. So we try to switch that up a decent amount. And then just a few other examples of things we've done. So COVID era, connecting with our member community. We did a Zoom series, Manchester by the Couch. We also did a 18-hole playoff of the golf course, just to start engaging and get people excited about getting back out there. So this pillar is our driving force for everything else, I'd say. If we didn't have this, we really wouldn't have a reason to have a Instagram account at Essex. The next part is our external brand. So we are a private account, but we let certain people in. We let almost anybody with a PGA professional in their bio, and then, or not almost every PGA professional. And then we also entertain some of the posts about Essex. You'll see a few examples here. Our members are super interested in this stuff too, and they like this community. And if anything, it's helping bring awareness to that community for people that are more interested in it. So we'll tag people or repost when it's appropriate. And ultimately, the more people are talking about Essex, the more we're bringing value back to our membership, which is nothing that can be complained about there. I think clubs can be super hesitant to be visible. And, it's a country club, but we're kind of preserving history a bit too. So it's cool to share that.
Yeah, and Amanda, one thing that you can do is, you could be different. Like, I know Tuxedo, we let kind of anyone follow. You guys are a little hesitant. You let other PGA professionals follow. The Round Hill Club, I noticed that they just started an Instagram account, and I requested to follow the golf shop page because I used to work there, and they didn't let me in. So they're keeping it members only and being very strict on that. So you don't need to expose yourself to non-members. You can keep it private like that and just access members to allow them to access the page.
Yeah, and I think, according to our board, we're members only, but I think if they really were to look, like, we have 1,200 followers, they can't all be members. We have about 500 family memberships, but I just kind of keep an eye on it too, because like I've had a few people I've let in because I see that they're friendly with a bunch of golfing community people, and then they start really engaging too much in our little private circle. And like, how can I get on? And that's kind of the red flag. Like, maybe that wasn't the right choice there. So, but it's funny, like even Raiders, we didn't have any social media 4 years ago. Jack started there 4 years ago. And then more so in the last 2 years. And it's amazing, some of these groups that have engaged with Essex and Raiders that have come and already kind of known what they're in for, because they have that bio of what Essex is before they even step on property. So I'm sure they can get it a few different places, but I think Instagram's a nice place to start. So
for sure.
Cool. And then, these are just a few examples of our merchandise. This is my day-to-day task. I do a little bit of everything, different hats, like Joe said, but I think the biggest thing to share with you guys is realizing what's going to be permanently a part of your brand on your page and versus your story. So we're a pretty story focused posting account, especially when it comes to this segment of merchandise sales. And if I were to post nonstop, 25% off, and constantly put that on my feed, what's stopping somebody from coming in 2 days later and saying, oh, well, I saw this, and it, the sale's over. So we're really cautious about the sale culture at Essex. So we really try to avoid making any of those posts, but you can still show value. Like, we're doing a loyalty program. So we do that on our page, but our aesthetic, we try to keep super clean. So I find as I'm clicking through stories, I'm just as caught by a white background or off-white background with very clean lines. So that's kind of the format we try to follow in most of our posts about product. But here are a few other, like we did engaging with members during COVID. People started getting really nervous around the holidays. We posted an online gift guide and included the pricing, which we typically don't do, as well as the sizes available. So we'll probably scale back a little bit of that after COVID, but and all of this is created with Canva, including my presentation today. So we had an intern 2 years ago, Nicole Triano, who was at WeBurn this year, but she was the one who told me about Canva, and it kind of took off from there. So I think the important thing with that is just, if you see an account or see somebody doing something, ask how they did it, and more than likely they'll be willing to share. So
Yeah, quick question, Amanda. Love the content, right? We're talking about quality over quantity, like Danny O mentioned before. Your quality is obviously really good. How long does it take you to make these posts? Is it very time consuming, or is it just time consuming in the beginning and you get better at it?
yeah, I think I'm pretty particular about the look of it and having clean. So like Canva, you have all these templates to choose from. If you just go crazy with that, like you can do a decent amount of work in less time. I probably take a little bit more time to really make sure it follows the aesthetic we like. So again, we are not a post multiple times a week type of club. The last post I made was during the holiday season. And I really don't have a problem with that. I get that feedback from our members too, that they enjoy that it's not like our emails going out every day.
Yeah.
We have so many events, but yeah, I post and create content as I have time, and really encourage our team to also do that. So you can really, I mean, the amount of time hasn't been that absurd. I would say I've spent so much more time working on our website and doing that than our Instagram.
Awesome. I just want to jump right into a question, because you just mentioned this. I was going to save it for later, but have you sent less emails out regarding this information and gone more towards the social media page, or have you kind of supplemented this? Because I find that, sometimes our members have so many emails to read that sometimes they don't even read our emails, or they skip right through them.
Definitely. So to give you another snapshot of Essex, we have 90 tournament days, and that includes like clinic days, et cetera. We probably have 70 actual tournament days in a season. So the amount of emails going out, and that's just with golf, and we have tons of other activities going on. So
Yeah.
Jack and I have taken an approach of less is more, and to the point where our members have actually come to us and said, like, we want more about the golf shop. We love the golf shop. Like, send us more. And I would just rather keep it in that mode of them asking for it than like, all right, like, we're good.
Yeah.
You don't need to constantly be shoving this in our face. So I definitely use Instagram to supplement that. And I post more on Instagram than we do as far as like member emails. I really only, for member emails, it's like events, more bigger things than sales. And it also gives our members a reason to want to follow us.
Sure.
Because they're getting a little bit fresher content. So
Great.
cool. So then our final point would be promoting our team. We had a new assistant this year, but if I was a new assistant at a club and I was really trying to grow my instruction business, I would be pretty pleased to know I had 1,200 people in this community that I could be sharing tips on. So I think it's something that our team will continue to use more down the road, but we really get them involved in this process, and we're stepping it up even more this year. So instead of saying, all right, Mitch, like, we need you to post one instruction video in the next 2 weeks. We are going to hopefully be a little bit more specific on what the account needs upon our direction of, what type of post, and if it's going to be, short game or whatever. It could be a rules thing too. So I mentioned at the beginning, our members are super interested in what we're doing. So we like to share when, like, we have exceptional team members, like interns doing calligraphy for our 4-ball. I think that's awesome. And hopefully that also helps. We have a ton of interns and PGM students following us. So hopefully that also makes us a more attractive place to work. And then over on the left, we did a US Open picks for our team. So again, it's just something to start conversation, and it's not just done in the form of posting swing tips and videos. So
Yeah, one post I really liked that you did, you got the winter beanies in, and you had like your staff model them.
mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool. I actually, I did it. I stole that idea, obviously.
All right.
And I went to like different departments at our club. We all wore one, and we had the members. I asked the members to vote, like, who did the best job modeling, and they all picked the bartender. It was great.
It's amazing if you just hang a free knit beanie over their heads, like they're like, yeah, sure, I'll model on Instagram. So
Yeah.
it's just a nice way to get in front of our members. So yeah. I did want to share the resources that we use. So I mentioned Canva, awesome program. It's free if you want to use it in a pretty basic form. If you pay for the subscription, I think it's $14 or $15 a month. And it actually includes 4 premium subscriptions. So this is something I'll utilize this year, where I can say, hey, Tyler, I need this like content or this from a tournament. And he can actually engage with me on that software and send me drafts, so we can get to a point where it's, looks good, fits our aesthetic, but we're not like, I'm not just doing it because it's easier. Like, I want our team to have a bullet on their resume that says participated in social media. And that kind of goes into the next thing. Everyone's involved. So, and then we're snagging content that as it gets shared from members and our followers. And then I think one of the other important things, and Joe and I talked about this a bit, but originally I was a little nervous about trademarks, about, using vendors' images. And I think at the end of the day, they want their product to be seen in the same light that they're creating. So it's only beneficial to them and their brand that we're portraying that the same way that they want it to be portrayed. So more than likely, if you reach out to your vendors and ask if you can use something, they're not just saying yes, they're saying yes, and can I give you this and this and this? So I'm seeing our vendors more proactive with this too. So like Corksicle sends out a media package every couple months. There's a few other vendors that do something like that. So hopefully that just helps you. If you don't feel like you have the time to put towards this, it helps you make it even easier to do at your club.
Yeah, that's great. And just to echo that statement, I'm on the communications board here with the Met PGA. One of our main goals this year is to get more exposure for our sponsors and our partners. And if every golf club had a golf shop account and tagged these brands and just did posts, with the Be Dratty shirt with your logo on it, it would be more exposure for our club and those brands. It would be a way to, kind of say thank you to those guys.
Yeah, we really enjoy engaging with our vendors too. And they'll, comment on stuff, and members see that, and they see that we have a relationship. And it's just, I think it's nice to be seen as an example doing this. Like, again, this is a case study. This doesn't work for everyone, but we've been able to coexist in our very traditional club by doing this type of content the last few years. So yeah, I think the more people that talk about Essex, that only helps us. So gives us value.
Awesome. If you guys, make sure you guys follow these accounts. ECC 1893 at Essex County Club, Instagram. Something that we just want to take a quick look at is the golf shop, that the page that Amanda created. I think you created it during COVID, right?
So we
Or did
had
you have
it,
before?
we've had it for 3 years.
Okay.
But yeah, it kind of took on a whole new purpose this year.
Yeah, obviously not social media related, guys, but it goes hand in hand here. The website looks really clean, easy, very easily accessible. And I'll let Amanda talk about it more.
Yeah, so we started it with Wix, and it was a way that, again, community giving our members an option to engage with Essex outside. We actually did this before Instagram, but it gave our members that would go away to Florida an opportunity to purchase Essex gear for the holidays. So we really ramp it up for holiday season. And then this year for the spring, when we were closed, Massachusetts had the latest opening of any state golf wise. So we didn't have anyone even in our shop till early to mid-June. So it's a ton of work, but it is giving us credibility. It's allowing us to share our product in a different way, because while a lot of people are in Manchester, there's a lot of people that are national members or traveling around. So I also use this as an opportunity for education. So we have our digital trunk shows. A couple of vendors are doing that this year, having it all in one place rather than sending 5 different emails about all of these opportunities to shop in different areas. We tried to streamline that. Also a little bit more like special orders, etc., showing what services we actually offer, because that doesn't always get brought up when they're in the shop. And something else we did this year was for the holidays, we did personal shopping appointments. So we had times where if people were uncomfortable shopping with us, they were able to book a time and get either private shopping or just really just truly not be bothered, shop to themselves for 30 minutes. So it was something that didn't have a ton of people take us up on, and hopefully we don't need it next year. But I think people just appreciated that added thought of that we're looking out for them. So I would say if you don't have time to do something like this, which I totally get, I'm even questioning if I have the right amount of time. We've had a ton of success with these newsletters that we don't put out year round. We just put as like gift guides during either Father's Day or the holidays. So
that's great. Have you seen, this might not be a goal of yours, but have you seen, and do you allow non-members to buy things on your page? And if you do, have you seen a lot of sales?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that's technically a part. If kind of depends, right? So if somebody wants a hat, like, sure.
Yeah.
We definitely get more interaction, and this website was password protected before this year. So
Okay.
this year was kind of the first year of that, but because we have a private Instagram account, we can't do the store in Instagram unless that's changed in the last month or so since I last checked. But yeah, we definitely do get non-member inquiries about that. So it kind of all depends on the club, but it's not something we go out and promote.
Yeah. So we brought in the Tux G4 hat.
Mm-hmm.
And I posted that on the Instagram, and I had like 5 or 6 non-members reach out to me and wanted to buy the hat. So I sold them. I told them it would be X for shipping, and $45 hat, sold it to them for $60 or whatever. But if you can do that at your club, that's just another resource and way you can use Instagram and obviously your website. Yeah,
and we own the shop there too. I don't think I mentioned that yet. So it's nice to move product.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's funny, those G4 hats. I remember, New England's a little different vibe than the Met section. So
yeah,
we had a debate on whether or not that was the right move for us. And we sold those pretty fast. So
Yeah, I think those are flying off the shelves everywhere.
yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Amanda. I think we're out of time here, but really appreciate you sharing your content and how you how you started your page and what you're doing. And I think everyone can see from that presentation that the quality of your content is awesome. And guys, follow the page. It gives you ideas. And if you can, I would recommend starting your own golf shop Instagram. It can create value for your membership, your staff, and it just works wonders. So thank you very much, Amanda. Really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us.
Thanks for inviting me. It's great seeing you guys. Nice to see some familiar faces.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Big thank you to Danny O, James O, Nick Bova, Mike Ballo, obviously, and Amanda Davis.
Yeah, everyone well done. And also Caitlin behind the scenes, handling all the technical logistical stuff. Thank you to her, everyone for coming in. It was great. Joe, awesome job. And again, I think everyone made it pretty obvious that if there was something that you wanted to ask them, or anytime you wanted to reach out to anyone that was here today, they're more than willing to talk to you, answer your questions, and thank you for another great educational seminar here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Guys, have a good day, everyone.